What is up, fellas? We are back with another Underdog stream. We are still in Austin, Texas, so we're having a ton of fun here. We're recording a ton of content with all the guys. Unfortunately, we did not have a video out today because we were
technical issues.
We were planning on putting
bad.
out our running back rankings tier list today. We had some technical issues. We will get those for you guys Saturday and Sunday. For the rest of the week that we're here, we get back like Friday afternoon, Friday night. We will be just breaking down underdog drafts. But of course, if you guys do have drafts coming up, you know how to get our draft guide. And thankfully, and it actually works well in harmony with what we're doing today, underdog drafts do actually have us get ready for our home league drafts. And also, too, if you guys want our draft guide, you can sign up on Underdog, use code FSC, and you'll get our draft guide for free with a $10 deposit. So let's get things going here, Danny. Let's get in this Best Ball Mania draft. If you guys want to join, of course, head to Best Ball Mania 5 main lobby on Underdog. Hit confirm, and we shall see you in the draft room. Waiting for 5 people right now.
I am waiting for 6, it says.
Okay, I think it's the same. It's the same draft.
Waiting for 5 now. We're good. Yeah, if you guys are in the stream right now, we actually just finished up our Flock League draft, and I will say I was drafting from the 6th slot, Corey, you're drafting from the 8th slot. You'll see the team soon enough, but let's just say they look like quite monsters, I will say.
Yeah, I made the difficult decision to take Garrett Wilson straight over Justin Jefferson. I do have that in my rankings. I have Jefferson behind Garrett Wilson. Maybe that is an absolute horrible take at the end of the season, but to be honest, I love Garrett Wilson so much this year, and I'm worried about Justin Jefferson's outlook with Sam Darnold there. So I feel pretty good with it. Definitely something that required a little bit of cojones to do because I mean, I think most people would say that Jefferson's the better pick, but should be a lot of fun.
And you guys will see in that league, but you would think if Corey passed on Jefferson at the 108, like surely he went at the 109, but he may or may not have fallen past that.
Yeah, AJ Brown went ahead of him too. So people, when the guns to the dome or guns to the trigger, there,
darts are at the board, baby.
Darts are at the board. I can't speak. Like we've been recording videos for like 2 straight days.
Oh yeah,
so there's
a lot of content.
Very very informal underdog draft, but you guys know what we're doing around here. Michael's the first one in here. He said, "Sad I'll have to miss this live. When does the listener league get announced? Hoping to have 2 bullets to get me a spot." So what Michael's referring to is our listener league entries are now open. If you guys do want to join our listener league, you can head to the link in the description and fill out the form there. You get 2 bullets into the listener league drawing if you are both a Flock Fantasy site subscriber using code FSE, as well as an Underdog Fantasy code user of ours as well. So, I mean, if you guys do want to join the listener league, you can definitely check that out. But we also, sorry, I'm on the clock in one other draft, so I need to figure this out. Anyways, if you guys do want to join the listener league, it's down below. To answer your question, Michael, we will be drawing names for it next week. So probably, I don't know exactly when we're going to do it. Maybe Monday, maybe Tuesday, maybe Wednesday. We'll see how many responses we're still getting. And then the draft will be Labor Day weekend on Sunday. So it'll be September 1st. We'll do it live on the channel, of course. It'll be like, I don't know, 7 p.m., 8 p.m. that we end up doing it. But we will get everybody filed into the league before that. So probably Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday area is when we'll draw it.
Hey, which one of you is going to be able to try to take this crown from me? Because I am the defending champ. I mean, if one of you wants to win the league, you will have to dethrone me.
Yeah, and me and Danny have actually won our own listener league 2 out of 3 times so far. Because I won it the first year, or 2021, whatever year that was. And then you won it this year. So we have had, or actually maybe no, we've done it 4 times, right?
Flat won in 2022, right?
Yeah. So actually, sorry, I'm wrong. We've done it. We won it 50% of the time because we've had 4 times that we've done the listener league. I did. I won it year 1. That was the year I won.
Year 2 then.
Wyatt, I think, won it.
Right. I am on the clock here at the 107. I'm looking at my choice between the 2 running backs, and feels like the fact that I just drafted this guy in our draft right now, I may as well pull the trigger on Breece Hall. I drafted him at 6th overall in the draft we just did, get him at 7th overall in this underdog draft.
Yeah, no, I think getting Breece Hall is definitely fair there. What do we got here? How does ESPN league draft change if there are 14 teams? In a 14-teamer, I mean, you definitely want to prioritize some depth. You definitely want to prioritize having a strong team throughout. I also am a little bit more risk averse in a 14-teamer because missing on a pick, especially early in drafts, missing on a pick can really, really hurt you. And then a 10-team half PPR is kind of just the opposite. Like you're less focused on depth, more focused on upside.
For sure. Yeah, I'm excited. You mentioned a 14-teamer, actually. Sorry, I'm just mentioning I'm excited for no reason. But mentioning a 14-teamer, I'm much more likely to stack up at the running back, the wide receiver position, make sure my depth is adequate there. Versus in an 8-team, 6-team, 10-team league, I'm much more willing to grab the onesies.
Yeah, and it's about time I tell you this, Danny, but the word is pronounced adequate. A lot of people commented down. It's adequate. That is how you're supposed to pronounce that word.
You don't like adequate?
I do not. No, Atticus Finch, I'm not a huge fan of. So Puka Nacua is my first pick here at the 112. I'm going to grab. I know it's pretty basic and not a unique combination whatsoever to have Puka and Marvin stacked up together. But to me, I understand people who want to like differentiate and go with like, oh, I'm going to go Puka and Waddle, or I'm going to go Puka and Saquon, or like just get it a little bit weirder at the turn.
best players.
To me, it's just grab the best players. I'll find a way to get unique later on in the draft.
Exactly. And if you guys actually watched our recent rankings video, or not the rankings, sorry, in our pick strategy video, so we did the 1 to 4, the 5 to 8, the 9 to 12. The one thing we said as to why we believe the 11th overall pick is the worst pick in fantasy drafts this year is that the top 13 picks stick out. And then once you get to 14 on, there's a really flat tier. We do believe that once Gibbs, once Marvin Harrison Jr., once Puka Nacua are off the board, having to take Drake London, or having to take, as much as I love Nico Collins, having to take Saquon Barkley, Devon Achane, Deebo Samuel, does feel like a little bit of a tier break after those two guys.
Yeah. Also, someone commented Atticus Finch reference in 2024 before GTA 6. I thought that was hilarious. Shout out Talon here.
Oh, damn. I got sniped on Devon.
Joseph Fitness here. I don't know if that's your last name or if you run a fitness channel. Drafting from the 101 full PPR starts 7. Are you going CMC or CD/Hill? Maybe you can get Pacheco, H, and ETN in the second. If I could definitely get 2 of those guys, I would 100% go to CD Lamb, especially in a full PPR league. I think, honest to God, man, in a start 7, you could make the argument for Christian McCaffrey, but also in a full PPR, I kind of want to just take CD Lamb. So it is a really tough decision. I personally would go Lamb, assuming I can get good running backs in the second and third round. If you think you might get locked out at running back, though, I'm totally fine going McCaffrey.
Yeah, and I actually just took Jalen Waddle here. It's funny because the first 2 draft picks I make in this underdog draft are eerily similar to the ones I just made over inside. Again, I'm not going to expose the full draft. If you guys want to see that, check on Twitter or potentially when the content comes out. But my first 2 picks were indeed the 2 AFC guys themselves with Breece Hall and Jalen Waddle.
Yep. Samuel, good evening. What's going on?
Yep.
Dr. Brian Harris, what's going on? Love from Great Texas. Henry in here, classic. Can't wait to tell you how about my RTS high stakes draft before I go to bed. I was at pick 12 and the guy at 11 took first round Allen, 4th round Mahomes, 8th round Aubrey, and 10th round Justin Tucker. I mean, I hope this was a super flex league, but it doesn't sound like it was based on the tone that you're saying.
He's making it sound like that guy's a taco, so yeah, I doubt it's a super flex.
Dylan's pick 3 right now. Love to see it. Danny had himself a draft. There you go. Jesus out here in the chat. 10-man league full PPR pick 10. Murray, Taylor, Achane, Waddle. Yeah, I mean, this looks like a pretty strong team to me, man. Like Taylor and Achane at running back. You got Murray as a onesie. You got Kincaid as a onesie. Very strong starters and also really good depth there. Sorry, I'm on the clock in this last draft that I'm in. Good, if you want to take care of that.
Yeah. So I'll look through. So
this is Brian's next question.
Here, CMC for Bijan at keeper league this year. If you're keeping them past this year, I'm taking Bijan every time. I think there's an argument. Again, I do have a Christian McCaffrey as my RB1, but I do think it is a tier of Christian McCaffrey, of Breece Hall, of Bijan Robinson. So for me, in a keeper league format, getting off of the risk of the aging running back, especially given the touch and age apex that CMC is at, for fresh legs, the best running back prospect I have seen in my life with Bijan Robinson, that is a very good transition.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Sean, yo, what's going on? Talents had absolutely cleaned up in my home league. Got Chase, Achane, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Waddle with my first 13 team. That is wild. Do you get a bye week in there? That is the craziest thing I've ever heard. But love the start, man. Chase, Achane, Marvin Harris. I don't know how you got Marvin in round 3 and Waddle in round 4, but that is you ran some rough shot on your buffoon league mates right there.
For sure.
Are you taking Amon-Ra, Bijan, or Breece at the 4? So Lorenzo, it will 100% depend on what you think is coming back to you.
Yeah.
Because it will be, first of all, it'll be between Breece and Amon-Ra. It won't be Bijan, as much as I love Bijan.
Yeah, agreed.
Do you think you're locked out at running back if you don't take one in the first round, or can you confidently get Achane, Pacheco, ETN, guys like that in round 2, or even potentially in round 3? If you think it's going to be very running back heavy room, then I'd be totally fine taking Breece Hall with your first pick and knowing you're going to get some pretty good value at wide receiver in the second round. But generally speaking, I've been taking a lot more running back in the first round, and I've actually liked my teams a little bit better because I think the wide receiver value in round 2 versus the running back value in round 2 is I like my 2v2s better. I would rather have Breece Hall, Nico Collins, for example, than Amon-Ra St. Brown and Travis Etienne. As much as I like Travis Etienne, I just think he's not as good of an anchor as Breece is.
Agreed. And this leaves me a tough spot. Obviously, the wide receivers just rinse off the board for me. The best player on the board is Pacheco, so I'm just going to take that pick.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's a very, very solid pick there. I'm up on the clock here pretty soon. Cody says, got Drake London at 303 in my work league today. Quarterback, Kyler, Achane, Brooks, Warren, Zeke, Dobbins at running back, CD, London, Higgins, Kirk, Hollywood, Polk, tight end, McBride. I mean, that's really strong team. You built it well. Good hero RB execution. Having an elite onesie there, quarterback and tight end, makes that a lot better. You guys went crazy with the stream backdrop. Appreciate it. This is just the place that we're staying at, the Airbnb we're staying at. The main house is like beside us, and then there's like a side apartment that we're in right now recording this. So I went Puka and Marvin with my first 2 picks. I kind of like the idea of just getting the Kelsey Mahomes stack here, which, spoiler alert, I may have drafted inside when we were doing the Flock League. I feel so good about these 2 guys, and knowing that you can get 2 players on your roster before you even take them. Like last year, if you wanted the Mahomes Kelsey stack, you legit had to take it round 1 and 2.
Yeah, it's not round 2, 3 at worst. Actually, no.
No, you could not
Kelsey
get
was
him.
a first round pick. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
you're right.
like best case scenario, you got Kelsey at 106 or something, and Mahomes at 206 or whatever. Or you maybe got Kelsey to slip, but then you had to reach on Mahomes. Or maybe you got really, really lucky and you didn't take Mahomes in the second round and he fell back to you in the third round, which is definitely possible that people built out teams that way. But what is the difference between their outlooks this year and last year? There's absolutely no difference. And especially for Mahomes, I would argue his outlook is way better.
Yeah, no, I would agree as well. Patrick Mahomes last year had that, classic positive regression season, 27 passing touchdowns for the best player on the planet. We've seen this guy flirt with 40, 45, 50 touchdowns in the past. Like, he literally had 50 touchdowns in his first year as a starter. Now, I would argue this is the best set of weapons he's probably had, maybe even since that 50 touchdown year.
Yeah, this set of weapons. He could have a monster season this year, especially with the big plays. We have not seen the big plays come out of Patrick Mahomes for 2 years now. He won the MVP in 2022 without them. In 2023, we were severely lacking the big plays. Yeah. And then this year with Worthy, the way that he's looked incredible. Marquise Brown, once he's back on the field, I also drafted Marquise, spoiler alert, later on in the draft.
Yeah.
So I stacked up all 3 of those guys. I don't know. I just feel really good about Mahomes and the Chiefs this year, which is why I was willing to take both an elite tight end and an elite quarterback in the draft that we just did, knowing that I was surrounded by a bunch of people who were going to take a bunch of wide receivers.
For sure.
I still felt good taking those 2 guys because I know that within the range of outcomes is Kelsey laps the field at tight end and Mahomes laps the field at quarterback. Like, obviously Hurts and Allen.
We've seen it before.
Hurts and Allen are great, but maybe it's one of those guys plus Mahomes and they're 25 point per game scores and they're absolutely crushing every other quarterback that you have available to you. So I love waiting on quarterback. Don't get me wrong this year, but to me, I think the Mahomes Kelsey stack is it's so enticing.
For sure. The way I kind of view the quarterback position is if you can grab, in our opinion, one of the top 3 options. The top 3 options for us are Josh Allen, are Jalen Hurts, are Patrick Mahomes. We do view them as the tier head. People will argue Lamar Jackson a little bit more concerned about his offensive situation compared to those guys. To me, if you can't get one of those top 3 of our order, you would be better off just waiting for the Love, the Prescott, or if you somehow get Kyler at value, that would be my one.
Kyler's the one guy that like in the mid rounds I typically deviate for. And like I think in sharp rooms, sometimes guys like CJ Stroud and Burrow and those guys can fall, but for the most part, I only take those guys if I have one of their pass catchers and they fall at value.
Agreed. Yeah. I'm about to be back on the clock soon. So I started off with Breece Hall and Jalen Waddle, my first 2 picks, like I mentioned. Wrap back around in the third round with Isaiah Pacheco. You can make the argument with potential ADP value at cost here. Obviously, Isaiah Pacheco early in the offseason, 4 or 5 term pick. Take him in the 3-6. You can make the case that maybe isn't the best value pick. But for me, from a projection standpoint, he is the clear best player. So I'm confident even biting the bullet on the ADP loss there. Also grab T. Higgins in the 4th round, which I felt good about.
Yeah, no, I think Pacheco is, especially on Underdog, man, like he's just such a good value. Like it's so hard to deny that Pacheco should be going higher, and he is going higher in like home leagues and stuff. But why are we taking him so much lower on Underdog? Like just because we love wide receivers? Like I get we like wide receivers. It's a 3 wide receiver league. But man, it's so enticing having a guy with legitimate RB1 upside. If you guys can't tell, we're like pretty high on the Chiefs this year.
Yeah, for sure.
I am dropping the link to join Underdog Fantasy down in the chat, the live chat down below. If you guys are new to Underdog, if you're not aware of the promotion that goes on right now, you can get all of our rankings, our draft guide, everything that you guys can need to dominate your home league drafts if you haven't had them yet. By signing up on Underdog, you guys can see how exciting and fun these drafts are. These are the reason that I'm so confident I'm going to beat my league mates. Like, I've done 100 drafts plus of these on this offseason. And last year, I think we even did more than that. Yeah. So if you guys are new to Underdog, you can get our draft guide by signing up with code FSE, depositing $10 within 24 hours. I get a lot of questions being like, hey, I signed up on Underdog. Where's the draft guide? Within 24 hours, it gets sent to your email inbox. And if I usually send out an email blast every 2 or 3 days, just in case it doesn't get to your inbox or goes to your spam folder or something. But it does get sent to you officially by Underdog with our redraft guide, our dynasty draft guide, as well as our dynasty rookie film breakdowns from back in April when we broke down all of the top prospects on all 22 format. We broke down Marvin Harrison. We broke down Malik Neighbors. We broke down Romo Dunze, broke down Xavier Worthy, Brian Thomas Jr., Ladd McConkey, A.D. Mitchell, Troy Franklin, all of the top quarterbacks, all top 6 quarterbacks that went in the first round, Brock Bowers, Jonathan Brooks, Trey Benson. Like, we went through a lot of the top dudes on all 22, and it was a ton of fun. So even though we recorded those all the way back in April and we didn't know what team they got drafted to, the actual talent evaluation is the important part of that. And you get that, again, just as a throw-in, basically, for signing up on Underdog.
For sure. I mean, we grind a lot of work on these prospects, and it's led to us getting some very good values. I mean, we're hearing all the buzz about Jalen Polk. You guys want to see our write-up on him, where we confidently stated he was a top 12 wide receiver in the class? You can check that out, or vice versa. I mean, Drake May, it seemed like earlier in the offseason, people were like, oh, Jacoby Brissett's going to be the starter. Drake May's not ready. And now we're hearing recent reports. Drake May's looking phenomenal, and Jacoby Brissett's struggling. We could have told you that back in April.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually don't have a ton of Kenneth Walker here, and I almost kind of want to make a selection.
I like it.
Again, if I'm going to get my shares somewhere, it is going to be a place like Underdog, where I'm taking him at the 601. It's a half PPR format, so I am definitely going to get involved with Kenneth Walker a little bit, because I never take Kenneth Walker, and in a home league, I know I'm not going to be getting my shares there because he's going to go higher than I'm willing to take him. But on Underdog, I would like to swoop in and take a couple shares.
And Kenneth Walker is a guy earlier in the offseason. I wanted to fade to the oblivion. I want to say, you know what? Doesn't have a 3-down profile. I don't think he's the consistent runner that a lot of people think he's just this great between the tackles runner. I thought he was more, a breakaway threat. But with what we're hearing with this new coaching staff, with my trust for this offensive scheme, what I'm hearing with Ryan Grubb, what he wants to implement. Again, I've quoted this stat a couple times. You guys will hear in the videos coming out this week. But the Seahawks this preseason, 70% motion rate. Second only to the Miami Dolphins. If we're getting more motion in this offense, if we're getting that wide receiver trio playing up to par, if we're getting Geno Smith from a couple years ago, this has the makings to be a top 5 to 10 offense in the league. And Kenneth Walker can very well be that type of, between the tackle slasher with that big breakaway potential that we're looking for. And in the 6th round, like, if he was a 4th round pick because that was happening, I get it. I would fade him there. But once you're at the 5-6 turn and you're getting a young running back at this stage versus the typical dead zone where you're talking about 26, 27, 28-year-olds, I would rather take the 23-year-old.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think knowing that you're not getting a guy that is like super old and could break down and that kind of thing, and the fact that, I mean, he's still a young player. He's still getting better. He was only drafted 2 years ago, and he's going into his 3rd season. It is possible that he developed a little bit more as a receiver. I am still worried about Charbonnet to some degree, but yeah. I would like to mix in my exposure with Walker from time to time. Kevin super chatted here. Appreciate it, Kevin. That. CMC auto smash at 6. How is he falling to 6? Like, we're not Christian McCaffrey guys, like at 101 necessarily, but dude, at 6, like, I don't know what the hell kind of sand your league mates are eating there, but that is a crazy good value in my opinion. So
big inside joke for the channel, by the way. Sand eater equals you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. Jackson got on me for having this in light mode when I started, so I did have to put it in dark mode to appease the dark mode police. I get so many 9 spots. Brian says he's in the draft with us there at 9. Jay Full says I went 0 RB in my redraft league. Got St. Brown, Marv, London, Olave, Kyler, McBride, Rice, and Worthy. Wow. Hell of a receiver core. My running backs he took were Swift. I'm assuming that's Chase Brown, Javonte Williams, and Brian Robinson. Dude, getting those type of running backs in a 0 RB is money, dude. Like, yeah. I can see a reasonable outcome with any one of those guys to be like top 15 scores. Maybe outside of Brian Robinson, I think his ceilings maybe a little bit capped. But if Swift was like a 14 point per game scorer this year, wouldn't totally shock me. Chase Brown, 14, 15 point per game scorer this year, wouldn't totally shock me. Javonte, same thing. maybe B-Rob runs really hot on touchdowns or something, and that's how he gets there. But like, dude, you are going to be absolutely dominant with St. Brown, Marv, London, Olave at your receiver spots with Rice
That's
and
absurd.
Worthy in reserve. And you also have Kyler and McBride. You didn't mention exactly what kind of format this league is, but hopefully you can start 4 or 5 of those wide receivers on any given week, and it's a full PPR. But feel really good about that. Brian says, I also co-champed a listener league that year. That Bills,
I remember that.
He did. Yeah, he did actually have the co-champion that year. I've been listening to Atticate for too long. That is true. You have been listening to that. Late night. What's up, boys? What's going on, Andrew? No worries about Puka still not practicing. I'm not overly concerned about Puka. McVay has been Coach Speak Index. The reason that Coach Speak Index is such a great Twitter follow, if you guys don't follow him on Twitter right now, is because he actually tracks how accurate these coaches have been when it comes to like things like usage or injury timelines or predicting breakout candidates and like workloads and things of that nature. Apparently, Sean McVay is extremely, extremely reliable with injury timelines. That is something that, dating back to his time first being a head coach, he has been extremely reliable with that stuff. He said he's not at all concerned that Puka is going to miss week 1, and I'm going to believe Sean McVay on the basis of what Coach Speak Index has gone into. So again, if you guys are new to his work, definitely check him out on Twitter. But that is why I'm not worried about Puka Nakua's injury. And speaking of that area of the draft, I'm also not really worried about Jahmyr Gibbs, because to that same tune, Dan Campbell's also quite accurate with injuries, and he is not worried about Jahmyr Gibbs by the sounds of it, and he should be practicing this coming week. So I'm actually on the clock here.
Yeah, Marv, no? You have a quarterback, right?
I do have a quarterback. I could go bully quarterback here. You know what? I think this is kind of a rare combination. I have Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm going to grab Kyler Murray. I know I kind of over-investing in quarterback here, but I get a 12-pick ADP discount on Kyler Murray, and I have him stacked up with Marvin Harrison. So to me, I think that was just a little bit too enticing to pass up on. I have so many Jordan Addison bags. I have to resist drafting this guy.
Yeah, you don't need to draft him this time, I don't think.
No, I'm going to draft him anyways, to be honest. I know he has a chance to get suspended still. I realize that the JJ McCarthy situation is not ideal because now he's out for the year. I just don't think Jordan Addison should be going this low. Like, I really don't. I think
agree.
He doesn't belong in this range of the draft. Even if he has a suspension risk, he should be going up near Brian Thomas and Ladd McConkey and those type of guys. And I like the value. Even though I have a lot of shares of them already, I guess I'm just going to be really overweight of them.
Yeah, no, I think that's the appropriate play. And now kind of leaves me at a decision here, because I'm not going to lie, the wide receiver position is not looking too great, but at least I covered my bases here, grabbing 4 in my first 7 rounds, that if I really wanted to deviate here for a running back like Ramondre Stevenson or a running back like Jonathan Brooks, assuming either get to me, I'm able to do so because I was able to take Higgins, Pickens, and Brown to follow up my Waddle. So if I had gone with, a quarterback or another running back in that range, I wouldn't be able to have the luxury to go with a running back here if that's the best player available.
Yeah. No, I think that definitely tracks. Other thing I forgot to mention too, like I said, is if you guys do want to join the listener league, signing up on Underdog and Flock Fantasy Code users have a chance to be in a league with us. And as we mentioned earlier in the stream, we'll probably be launching the giveaway for that later this week. So if you guys do want to play in a league with us, both of us are very active in that league. Every year we have different people in it, and it's always a great time. It's always such a great time. I'm only if you're worried we're in so many fantasy leagues, we won't care about this. I'm in so many dynasty leagues, but I'm not in a lot of redraft leagues. Like the Flock League that we just drafted, my home league, which of course is the league I care most about, and the Listener League are the only redraft leagues I'm in this year. So I am very
I'm in 5 total.
Yeah, exactly. I'm in 3 total, and I've been in 3 maximum for pretty much the entire time I've been making fantasy content. Even though the Dynasty League counter keeps going up, the redraft leagues are not going up for me. I like only being in a 1 or 2 or 3 potentially redraft leagues every year. Which,
by the way, speaking of Dynasty, again, we're Dynasty fucking fiends. We have 12, 13 Dynasty leagues that we're in, but shout out Avery Dynasty Domain, but showed him some of my portfolio. I'm sure you guys have seen it. Obviously, Butch has seen my portfolio before, but he was quite shocked with the type of teams I was able to build.
Yeah, no, I think sometimes too, with people who make content, there's being good at Dynasty and there's being good at making Dynasty content. And I think we're good at both.
Yeah.
But there is definitely people who, again, I'm not saying it's a good or a bad thing if you're not actually a good Dynasty player and you can deliver information well and you can give other people advice well, but it definitely does have good credence and credibility that me and you guys, we show you our Dynasty rosters. We do our own Dynasty decisions videos, so you can actually see how well we're doing in our Dynasty leagues. And I think that that's something that kind of sets us apart a little bit. Like I not to toot our own horn, I don't think a lot of dynasty creators show you their dynasty portfolios. And I think that should say a lot about potentially the leagues and the teams that they've built. I know a lot of, I'm not going to name any names, but I know a lot of prominent dynasty creators that I've been in leagues with who don't appear to be very good at dynasty. Not only that, some of them are just like up and leaving leagues and, not saying anything and things of that nature. So got to watch out.
Not great behavior.
Got to watch out in these dynasty streets.
Yeah, for sure.
Andrew says, what do y'all think of QBs in a 6 point per passing touchdown? Dude, in 6 point per passing touchdown leagues, I think there's so many good pocket passers late in drafts that I'm very comfortable waiting on quarterback.
Or draft Mahomes.
Yeah, that's the other takeaway from this point in the presentation here is that Patrick Mahomes is a stud. Again, you give a little bit of an upgrade to CJ Stroud, Joe Burrow, Jordan Love, Dak Prescott, guys who are going to get there via passing. Bit of a downgrade to Anthony Richardson, Kyler Murray, Jaden Daniels, guys like that who are going to get there primarily rushing as well. Henry swooping in from Ron's stream where he's fighting for his life from the chat. That is as wild. Joseph says, since it starts 7, if I do start with CD and one of Pacheco, Etienne, Achane, would you go Josh Allen at 301? I would double tap wide receiver if you start with, or running back, sorry, if you start with CD Lamb. But I'd be totally cool grabbing, say, CD, Achane, for example, and then Nico or London or whatever falls to you back there. So I think you'd be in a really good spot with any one of those starts. I personally would not go Josh Allen that early. I know it's a start 7, but I would rather deviate for a quarterback at the 4-5 turn or the 6-7 turn as opposed to
3-1 is too steep.
Yeah, it's a little too steep. I think it's viable. I think Allen's probably worth that selection. I just like quarterback enough that I'd be okay punting that off even in a start 7 league.
Pushing it to the 4-12, any of Mahomes, Hurts, Allen obviously fall. You would take them there, or like you said, at the, what would that be? So it would be the 4-12, the 5-01. So the 6-12-7 turn. Can you get a Kyler Murray fall in there? Because I would much rather, from an opportunity bundle standpoint, take a running back or receiver at the 3-1 and Kyler Murray later versus Josh Allen at the 3-1 and then whatever running back or receivers there at the 6-12.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm back on the clock here, and I actually sometimes do take Romeo Doubs. I think with Romeo and the whole Packers receiver core, I actually do prefer Dontavian Wicks straight, but I have quite a bit of Dontavian Wicks, and I actually just drafted him again today. I really do love the idea of getting my shares of the Packers wide receivers just in best ball. That's the best place to get them, because I believe Matt LaFleur when he says we're going to mix it up. We're going to use different guys every week. Some weeks, I think Romeo Doubs is going to be 80% rep participation. Some weeks, Dontavian Wicks might be 90% rep participation. So why would I take on that headache in a managed league when I can draft them in best ball? And
even though you did,
I did, but I got the cheapest one, which was
I know. I'm just messing with you.
I will say though, like Jaden Reed and Christian Watson to me are more appealing in best ball than they are in managed leagues too, because I think there's a possibility that any one of those guys could be swapped off the field more than we're thinking. Same with Dobbs, same with Wicks. I think all 4 of these guys can play. I think all 4 of them will play. And I think this is the format that you want to take them in, is when you don't have to choose to start them. You don't have to say, I got to start Romeo Doubs this week, because you're probably never going to know when that day is coming.
Yeah, I think you pretty much nailed the nail on the head. Oh my God, I can't speak.
We've been making so much content. I'm surprised I'm even coherent at this point in the day.
I can't speak right now. Holy. Those confession camps were fun, by the way. Get ready for when those drop, because we did roast each other's teams, and we did, kind of give the credence to our own.
Yes, we did. Yeah, I got a little obnoxious with mine. I'm not going to lie. I'm picking right ahead of y'all at 11. Oh, Dynasty Insights right here. Danny, for what it's worth, Danny is actually in this draft too. I don't know if you guys noticed, but Danny is picking.
21,
where
baby.
Are you picking from again? 106?
Yeah, I'll recap my team, because obviously I've kind of just been picking without really saying what's going on. Round 1, Breece Hall. I'm just not going to read the round from now on. Breece Hall, Jalen Waddle, Isaiah Pacheco, T. Higgins, George Pickens, George Kittle, Hollywood Brown, Jonathan Brooks, Jaden Daniels, and Tua Tagovailoa. So feel really good about my team. Get my rushing threat there with Jaden Daniels. Maybe correlate later on with a guy like, Jahan Dotson. Possibly a Ben Sinnott as my tight end too, because obviously I'm strong at tight end with George Kittle. And then I do have Tua paired with Jalen Waddle.
Yeah. I like the idea of getting in best ball 2 quarterbacks that are all like kind of top 15 guys in ADP, because I feel really good about the top quarterbacks this year. And also too, you got one guy who's kind of your more upside play, and then another guy who's going to be pretty consistent for you, or at least a safe option. The offense is
plus the stack equity.
Yeah, plus the stack equity. Last year, Andrew said he won all 4 leagues, and he was including 2 undefeated seasons and the highest scoring team in all 4 leagues. Y'all are the best fantasy channel on YouTube, hands down. Appreciate you, dude, and glad you had so much success last year. Samuel says, I'm the exact opposite. I like the running backs in the second as opposed to the wide receivers. I'd rather start Garrett Wilson / reach for someone like Achane than start with Bijan and have to draft. I mean, I don't totally disagree with you here, Samuel. I would say this area of the board, when you have to take a running back in round 1 versus a wide receiver in round 1 in the like 9 to 12 range, I agree with you. I actually do prefer to get the running back in round 2.
Spoiler alert, you mentioned Garrett Wilson and Devon Achane. That sounds relatively like a similar idea that you had.
Yeah, I mean, that's precisely the 2 players I drafted from the 108. So I don't disagree with you at all. I'm talking specifically if you're taking Breece Hall, Bijan Robinson, 105, 106 or whatever. I get not wanting to draft like a Drake London or something like that. But when you're higher up on the board, like if you're at 104, 105 or something, I feel like I can stomach drafting Nico Collins or Drake London or Chris Olave or Brandon Ayuk, whatever receiver you like in that mid to late second round area. It doesn't feel as gross in that area of the board as opposed to having to do it at like 203 or something. Agreed. That's kind of where I'm at with it. Yeah, you said like at the 203. I don't really love that either. By the way, thank you guys. It was your strategy video that helped me get ready to pick at 10. You are welcome, sir. Hopefully you can take it down. Your best strategies from every spot video made me nervous. Am I good running a 0 RB in a full PPR 3 wide receiver 2 flex? I mean, that's a primo spot to run 0 RB in.
Yes.
If the board falls that way. Yeah, dude. And you can start up to 5 wide receivers. It's full PPR. And I mean, again, when you're running 0 RB, you could want to be elite at the onesies as well. You're talking 7 starters available to you before you have to take a running back. And again, you only want to run 0 RB if your team...
If your hand is forced in your league.
Exactly, because everybody's taking running backs. But of course, if a running back value is on the board for you, you don't have to run a 0 RB. It's mainly a tool that you pull out in case every pick you're just like, there's no good running backs on the board. If that's your attitude on the board, that's when it's a good time to run a 0 RB because it means that the other positions are the best players available. It's not necessarily that we hate running backs and we never want to draft them. Like we both admit that running backs do have tons of value if they can hit. It's just that they present a lot of risk and there's no reason to take that risk if the better positions, the better projections are on the board for you at other positions. So
for sure.
I am back on the clock here.
Benson.
I think Benson is a beautiful value for me, especially
you have
the Cardinals correlation. Yep. I am also back on the board. I know you're going. Take a lot of Ezekiel Elliott, so I kind of don't want to do that.
Just don't go Dotson because I have Daniels.
Yeah. I don't actually love this pick right now. I might scroll the F down a little bit.
Michael made it.
Oh, God. I think I might just have to take Zeke. I think
you have to.
I think he's just the best player available for me there. I know he's disgusting and old and washed, but I still think he has a chance to rumble in 11 times into the end zone.
And even though I joke around calling Corey a Cowboys hater, he can even admit that the Cowboys will score a ton of points this year, and maybe getting the guy that should potentially lead them in terms of inside the 10 carries is probably a good idea.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think Zeke is pretty not good at this point in time, but I will say he has the ability to very easily be like a 4.1 yards per carry because the offensive line is good, has the ability. Like he didn't look bad in New England last year. And he also had a couple good spike weeks. He was getting targets. He had not only is Ezekiel Elliott not just a plotter who doesn't get targeted, because he actually was getting targets in New England. And we've seen him get targets with the Cowboys before. He has high value touches in a good offense. That's why I like him this year. Again, Dowdle, I'm sure you're going to make the case for is probably the better running back, but what if they like Dowdle in the Tony Pollard 2022 role? And even if he is the better running back, and we
both
know he's
will
the
have
better
value.
Exactly.
That's the stance I've been in all along. It's not necessarily a huge pro Dowdle. I would take him in the 7th round of my draft take. That's not what I'm saying here. I think both of these running backs have extreme value in this offense, but in different ways. I think Rico Dowdle is the more efficient receiver, is the more efficient between the tackles runner, whereas Ezekiel Elliott, he can get receiving work simply by being on the field because of his pass blocking prowess. And like we said, he's been such an efficient goal line runner inside the 5, inside the 10-yard line. Again, is he great between the 20s at this point in his career? Probably not. But guess what? When you're on the fucking 3-yard line and you got that 230-pound Ezekiel out in the backfield, he's going to punch in a lot more touchdowns than the most inefficient running back in that aspect last year with Tony Pollard was able to do.
Yeah, not only that, but Ezekiel Elliott, he might be washed physically, but he still has some of the best vision of any running back in the league.
For sure.
Because he's experienced and he was always a very good vision running back. He's just a natural.
You don't need to run a 4.4 when it's from the 2-yard line.
It sucks that we have this opinion of Ezekiel Elliott at this point in his career because he was so freaking good for so long. Man.
So good.
And we got to remember that he still has all of those instincts as a running back. And we never talk positively about old running backs, but with Zeke, he has the type of game that actually ages kind of good, actually ages kind of gracefully, because it's not like he was all athleticism. Like if Devon, like 10 years from now, if Devon Achan's like 31 years old, he's probably not going to be very good.
He has to literally be Raheem Mostert, which is funny because they play on the same team.
Yeah, no, Zeke is the type of dude that can actually age pretty well. He can still break tackles. He can still get first downs. He can still score touchdowns. He can still catch dump off passes. And as Dak has gotten older, he has been a little bit more prone to check the ball down at this point in his career as well. So I think Zeke is just generally a good pick. And I also think Rico Dowdle is generally a good pick. I just actually think both of them are undervalued.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that.
Jay Full says, with my team, it was 10-team PPR, no flex, 3 wide receivers, 2 running backs, 1 tight end. People were drafting with an AI bot. Can't wait for the FSC Boys Manifesto to school the machines. Yeah, I mean, no flexes is a wild format for a 10-team league. This is all starting lineups basically here. 3 wide receiver, 2 running back, 1 tight end, and a quarterback. I'm assuming. So you're talking about what, a start 7 or a start 6 if there's no quarterback, because he didn't list the quarterback here. So I would say this is a very interesting format for sure, but hopefully you can cook. Sean says, I need y'all to shut up. I don't know if my league mate's in here. In your opinion, what is the max number of rookie wide receivers that can finish top 24 at the position? This is a really good question.
I mean, hopefully for my sake, I have 3 of them on my roster in the Flock League.
Yeah, I would say very confidently that Marvin, Malik Neighbors, and Rome Odunze can do it. And maybe that's a shock to some people on Odunze because Odunze is technically the 3rd wide receiver on his team right now, but I just think he's good enough that he can do it. I also think very clearly Xavier Worthy, Ladd McConkey, and Brian Thomas Jr. can all do it.
Those are the clear top options.
Coleman can do it too, because of the opportunity in front of him. However, I worry about his actual ability to command those targets. Logistically, I think there's other guys that could do it. Like Jalen Polk could do it because he has basically no real target competition on his team as well, to the point that if Drake May comes out and he's a good quarterback, or Jacoby Brissett even to start the season, and Jalen Polk, who's already a starter, I put out a Fantasy News of the Day TikTok today talking about that. Jalen Polk could be a top 24 receiver this year just based on the fact that there's no proven targets in that offense. I'm trying to rack my brain if there's any other guys that fit the description. I still believe in Troy Franklin. He's just not a starter right now, so I can't really say that he could be a top 24 guy. Let's just hope he fucking makes the team at this point.
I mean, I got one that I actually took today. Again, off chance he will be able to do so, because it does involve some, potential optimism from his quarterback taking that step up. But if Anthony Richardson is as advertised, I mean, with Josh Downs potentially missing the start of the season, Adonai Mitchell having the opportunity to play both inside in the slot as well as playing as an outside wide receiver, he has the physical makeup where if Anthony Richardson can be a plus potential top 10, top 15 level quarterback in the league, he has the skill set to be able to really thrive in that situation. The way I view A.D. Mitchell as a player, there are some wide receivers that are floor raisers of their offense. Like I would say Jalen Polk, for the most part, is a very good floor raiser.
Yeah.
Adonai Mitchell, if this offense is humming, he's the type of player that can take it to the next step.
Yeah, I struggle with Mitchell because I just generally think he's the type of receiver that if he hits in the NFL, will, just like Coleman, will probably take a little bit of time. But I do think there's some opportunity in front of him. I don't think it's very likely that he would finish top 24. I think Polk is definitely more likely. And also, I mean, we didn't mention Leggett too. It's not a whole lot of target competition there.
At
that position.
The other obvious one,
I'm gonna grab Cole Kmet just because I need a second tight end, and he's a pretty safe option in my opinion. He's falling past ADP because of the preseason usage, but I don't love picking Cole Kmet.
The other obvious contingent one is, again, very unlikely at this point of the offseason that Brandon Ayuk will get traded. And this guy himself is dealing with injury, but it's the San Francisco 49ers. If Ricky Pearsall is the number 2 wide receiver on that team, he still has an opportunity to be a top 24 guy.
He does. Yeah, you're definitely right about that. I'll just one last shout out to my boy Jalen McMillan. I don't think I don't think he can be a top 24 guy, but could he be one down the stretch potentially if Godwin's not playing well or you got an injury suffered to one of those top 2 guys? I think he's going to start 70% of the routes by week 1, to be honest. I think he's legitimately already won out the hybrid slot outside job, because like they keep saying they want Godwin in the slot, but I also think that's McMillan's best spot to play as well. So I think that they're probably going to rotate both of those 2 guys in, which actually worries me a little bit sneakily for Mike Evans, because that means he's playing X like 95% of the time. So we'll see how the usage kind of shakes out there. But what I do know about McMillan is that I follow a ton of Bucs beat reporters. I follow my team very closely. Yeah. And literally every time I open my Twitter timeline, it's like another catch by Jalen McMillan. He's on fire today. Like he just has scorched training camp.
I will say something though. Anytime I say that for Jalen Tolbert, Corey refuses to believe me in that. So I'm
right,
saying the
but
same
Jalen
thing.
Tolbert has a 2-year sample size of him not being good.
I think Jalen McMillan's really good. And obviously, I'm more so poking fun here with Tolbert. But at the same time, is it bad to take a potential top 3 receiver on a top 10 offense?
No, it isn't. It isn't. I just don't think Tolbert's good. I think that he's bad.
He's looked good. He's looked good.
I think that this offense, like, just if you're taking anything away from this, if we actually do believe that, because one of 3 outcomes to me is going to happen with the Cowboys. Either A, they're not going to be as good as we're thinking because the other surrounding weapons are not good. B, there's going to be value to be had in this offense via the run game, via Jalen Tolbert, via Brandon Cooks potentially, via Jake Ferguson. Or 3, CeeDee Lamb is going to just be nuclear this year, and he's going to literally do everything, and it's not going to matter what anybody else does. I think that one's the least likely, but we'll see.
It's crazy to say because he's the type of talent that very well could, but at the same time, projecting any receiver to be, I mean, CeeDee Lamb was monstrous last year, and by monstrous, that was a near 1,800-yard, 12-touchdown year. Like, when we're saying nuclear, like, we're talking about being a threat to break the receiving yards
like
record.
Cooper Kupp 2021 nuclear.
Like 2,000 receiving yards, 17 receiving touchdowns nuclear.
And by the way, by the sounds of it, and if you guys are listening to this and you don't do this in your home league, start doing it. I have done some research behind the scenes on the people picking ahead of me in my home league. Of course, I'm picking 3. As you guys know, I've talked about it like 600,000 times this offseason. I have it on good authority that the first guy is going to take Christian McCaffrey. In our league, it's 0.5 first down bonus to running backs. I mean, Christian McCaffrey is a first down machine. Totally makes sense. PPR league. The second guy, he doesn't strike me as the type of person who would take CeeDee Lamb because A, he's taken a running back in the first round like 5 straight years. So I don't think he's going to take a running back because he doesn't really love Breece Hall, Bijan Robinson. He's the type of guy that is very tethered to name value. Unfortunately, he's one of the tacos in my league, but that makes me think that he's going to take Tyreek because Tyreek has been more fantasy relevant for longer than CeeDee Lamb has. So I actually think I might get CeeDee Lamb at 103. Potentially it's going to definitely be one of Hill or Lamb. For me, but I actually am kind of excited thinking it might be Lamb. And the reason I'm excited for it is because I love Achane in round 2. And people don't have to yell at me in the comments then that I took 2 straight Dolphins to start my draft if I go Hill and Achane. Or I also love Waddle in round 3. So if I take Lamb instead of Hill with my third pick, it opens me up to take those 2 guys at that great value because I could take hypothetically CeeDee Lamb in round 2, maybe Isaiah Pacheco in round CeeDee Lamb in round 1, Isaiah Pacheco hypothetically in round 2, because I don't think actually Achane is even going to fall to me. I think he's going to go before that. And then in round 3, I could grab Jalen Waddle and start my draft with like 3 receivers or 3 straight options on great offenses that I feel really, really good about. So
you're set at tight end here, by the way, right?
Yeah, I think I grabbed Cole Kmet to go along with Kelsey. Again, I don't love Kmet, but I feel like he's one of the last tight ends I could close off a 2 tight end build with, and I didn't really want to spend a third roster.
Because I'm taking the risk that Sinnott makes it back to me. So I'll let him fall because every other team has 2 tight ends, I believe.
Yeah, no, that's totally cool there. But that was a great question, by the way, Cody. I thought that was an interesting conversation. Michael says 10-man work league. I started the draft from the 10th spot. Garrett Wilson, Bijan Robinson, Achane, Drake London. What on earth did you?
2 of them?
You got Garrett Wilson and Bijan Robinson at the 10 and 11th overall pick. Dude. That is insane, dude. I mean,
are you asking us to pick 2 of them, or did you get all those players?
I think he's saying I started like this is past tense. Like he drafted these guys already. Okay.
I mean, like if I'm thinking, okay, homework league, they hate London. Who was the other guy that went early? What, Achane? Maybe they're like worried, oh, he's too small, like all that bullshit. I don't fucking know.
Yeah, I'm.
That is wild.
I need to balance my bags a little bit. So I have taken a shit ton of Troy Franklin this offseason. And
taking Jermaine?
I'm going to take Marvin Mims.
Ooh.
Because I don't think the thesis is wrong of why I've been taking Troy Franklin, which is that I think Bo Nix is better than people think. I just think that Troy Franklin might not be on the field right away. So I'm going to take Marvin Mims. And if Franklin's not out there, I think Mims probably is. I don't take a whole lot of Antonio Gibson either. I think he's a very solid, high-value handcuff. I actually think I have like kind of a dusty running back core, if I'm being honest. But I actually really like how this team is coming together. I mean, with Puka, with Marvin, with Ridley, with Addison, I feel like I'm getting good upside and kind of safe floors out of a lot of those like number 1. And then with Addison, good number 2s. I mean, Michael Wilson, Trey Benson, Kyler Murray, all those guys are kind of correlated together. And then obviously Mahomes, Kelsey correlated together. So I feel good about how this team is coming together. I just don't really love the running back core because I'm not a huge Kenneth Walker guy. Like I said, I'm trying to diversify my exposure a little bit. And then I draft a lot of Zeke. I draft a lot of Ben. I think the balance of the profiles I have, like you got your safe Walker, B-Rob, Zeke guys, and then you have your upside Trey Benson, Gibson guys. I'm just a little worried that I'm not going to have like any, like, does anybody crush from that area? Probably not,
Probably
right?
not,
Like
yeah.
I feel like where I crush is the bully quarterback that I have, and also the wide receivers that I drafted, and Kelsey being clearly the best tight end in fantasy or something like that.
For sure. And once I make this pick of Ben Sinnott, I'll update you guys on my team. Or I mean, you could very well just show them my team through the share screen as
You,
well.
you could see it this way
Yeah,
here.
I do get Sinnott, and just reading it off, Jaden Daniels, obviously Tua Tagovailoa as my 2 quarterbacks. Don't need to draft a third in this field. Perfectly confident with those 2 as my main anchors. Brees Hall, Isaiah Pacheco, Jonathan Brooks, Bucky Irving, Marshawn Lloyd. This is probably like the perfect running back structure for me. I'm grabbing 2 anchors, still getting a really good receiver I feel good about with Jalen Waddle, but getting 2 anchors in the first 3 rounds with Brees Hall and Isaiah Pacheco, getting an upside shot within the first 10 rounds again with Jonathan Brooks, and not having to worry about the position until late round dart throws like Bucky Irving, who's looked good this offseason, and potentially if Rachaad White gets hurt, we've seen the ability to potentially be a between the tackles bell cow running back from those guys. So I love Bucky Irving, Marshawn Lloyd as well. A little bit more pessimistic in the news right now, obviously dealing with an injury. Jacobs looks like a bell cow back, but this is still the ultra creative running back we saw at USC. And if there's going to be a thunder and lightning dynamic like we've seen from the Packers in the past, I think it's much more likely it'll be Marshawn Lloyd working with Jacobs than it would be A.J. Dillon. So grabbing that, I feel good at the 175th overall pick. Waddle, Higgins, Pickens, Brown, Polk, Dotson, Pearsall. Very good mix of elite upside working down the field, along with potential target getters like, Polk, like a guy like T. Higgins potentially working there. So overall, I think I balanced this team well. Also at tight end, George Kittle, Ben Sinnott, grabbing the safe elite option with Kittle, mixed with some upside in correlation to my quarterback bet with Jaden Daniels with a guy like Ben Sinnott. I understand right now, it seems like the reports that, Zach Ertz is the tight end one of the team. Ben Sinnott, honestly, in the brief flashes he's shown in the preseason and the offseason, has really impressed me. And the prospect that I thought he was is the type of talent that I think can usurp Zach Ertz. Is it going to be week 1, week 2, week 3? Probably not. But by week 7, week 8, week 10 at the latest, I think Ben Sinnott will ultimately be the starting tight end for the Washington Commanders, and getting him here at this spot for a guy that I think legitimately down the stretch can be a top 8 to 10 tight end given the talent level. I'm okay making that pick every time.
Yeah, Sinnott's one guy that I'm still taking, even though he's fallen. Like I was taking him before he fell, and I'm still taking him now because the thesis was late season upside. Like Zach Ertz is maybe he's in his way. He's in his way at the beginning of the season, but we saw it with McBride last year. Like when Zach Ertz was out of the way, it was, young tight ends can kind of do their thing. And I think when you come in with a rookie quarterback too, you kind of have an inherent advantage that you get to build some chemistry. I've been pounding the table for the Romo Dunze, Caleb Williams shower narrative. And I think it could apply to Ben Sinnott and to Jaden Daniels as well. Young Jod said, appreciate you guys sign up for the draft guide. Definitely appreciate that, Young Jod. Make sure to enter the Listener League giveaway, Young Jod. If you did use our promo code, obviously, on Underdog, you can definitely be eligible for that if you want to be in a league with us. Good promo, grow up. Appreciate that. Woogie Boogie, don't need this. I don't know. I think that's sarcasm. Maybe it's not. I don't know. My bad, Fletsky on Brissett. That's looking a lot worse. Young Jod said he prefers crayons, I'm assuming, to sand is what he...
Fair enough.
Sup, boys? What's going on, Carlos? Are we worried about Lamb? Cowboys fan in the room? What say you? I'm not a Cowboys fan, and I'm not worried.
Not worried at all. I mean, he will report regardless. I mean, this is still a team that, people are very pessimistic on them because of the offseason, but I'm telling you right now, from a roster standpoint, I actually feel more confident about this team than I even did last year's team. It looks like they found legitimately 40% of their starting offensive line in the first 3 rounds this year, with Tyler Guyton looking like an absolute monster from day one, flipping from right to left, looking as confident as he is. Feel great about that. Cooper Beebe, you got a starting center. You basically traded down from 24 to 29, grabbed a starting tackle and a starting center with those 2 picks. Such a Cowboys formula to be able to rebuild. Marshawn Nealon in the second round, looking like a really good run stopper year 1. We lost some edge depth. If he could be a contributor, feel good about that. Completely revamped linebacker core. And I've been saying this. People are like, oh, you're going to miss Dan Quinn. Dude, this defense looks even more ferocious with Mike Zimmer calling the shots. And I know that's more of a Cowboys take. Let me get back to CeeDee Lamb. I think the narrative in this room is, although the actions of Jerry Jones would point otherwise, this team fully views themselves as a contender. This team still views themselves as a team that won 12 games last year, as a team that was the number 2 seed in the NFC. Again, is it still, snake bitten for me trusting this team going into the playoffs? Sure. But at the same time, for that group, they believe they can win a Super Bowl. And if CeeDee Lamb thinks he can win a Super Bowl this year, why would you be holding out of that opportunity?
Yeah, no, exactly. I think so this is an anti-Cowboys take, but I think it applies to CeeDee Lamb perfectly. The Cowboys annoy the fuck out of me because they just like to be in the news and have these players like not get extended right away when they know they should be paying them. And then a week before the season starts, they pay the guy, and it was just so that they could stay in the news the whole time. Like I honestly, maybe it's a conspiracy theory, but I honestly feel like that's the case with CeeDee Lamb right now.
Yeah.
They're just like penny pinching him until the season gets closer and like, okay, like, yeah, we'll give you what Jefferson got. Like it's so annoying to me. I think it's not going to matter. He's not, I guess, technically.
Is it really a big difference if you offer the guy 33.5 versus 35 million? Like, grow the fuck up.
Just give him what he wants.
He's a superstar. I mean, I'm not going to throw this completely out there yet, but if he keeps the trajectory he's been on these last 2 years, I mean, there's a real shot by the time he's 33, 34 years old. We're calling his name as a gold jacket member.
Yeah, no, he has the ability to do it as long as he can stay healthy. So,
For sure.
I mean, just don't be stupid, Cowboys.
Sign your potential future Hall of Famer.
He said, Kevin said, I'm pick 5 in this Best Ball Mania we're doing. What do you think? I also asked the CMC at 6 question. Yeah, my league is scared of his calf. Yeah, if your league's scared of his calf, that's crazy. Also, I do want to shout out Malik Washington, my scroll the F down pick that I made at the 18-1. I love that I can get a guy who I believed in as a prospect who, yes, is in a very crowded wide receiver core, specifically with Hill and Waddle.
Skill set for that wide receiver
but he is the perfect skill set for that wide receiver core. He also kind of doesn't really fit the skill sets of the other top 2 guys where he can be a design touch dude, explosive play guy. Odell Beckham Jr. is there and he's functional, I suppose, at this point in his career, but he's also been like extremely injured the last 5 years, and he hasn't really proven that he can stay on the field. So and Malik Washington, like Mike McDaniel reportedly was pounding the table for him, like starting in round 3, and they didn't draft him until round 5. So if Mike McDaniel has a plan for this dude, I'm excited for him. So I actually really like grabbing Malik Washington as a late round.
I'll quickly add to that. Obviously, it doesn't have to do with Malik Washington himself, but it's just so funny to me how like we see teams in the NFL like, I need my 6'4" guy. I need my 5'11", 5'10" slot receiver. I need my speedy field stretching Z wide receiver. And then you look at Miami, it's like, yeah, we'll take this 4.2 speed guy. We'll take this 4.2 speed guy. We'll take this 4.3 speed guy. And even just applying Taj Washington as well, for example. Again, not quite as fast as those guys, but in terms of a shifty mover that can work vertically, Taj Washington also fits that bill. So it's so funny. Again, we've quoted the term building your wide receiver room like a basketball team. The Miami Dolphins are just grabbing shooting guards.
Yeah, no, literally all they do is shoot here. I just want to check out his team here from the 5 hole. He did mention so he goes St. Brown, Cooper Kupp, Mike Evans, Rashee Rice to the first 4 rounds, Anthony Richardson, David Montgomery, Keon Coleman, Javonte Williams, Chase Brown, Jerome Ford. I love how you built out your running back core. Again, I probably don't go Richardson where you went with him. He wasn't correlated. I probably would have just stacked up later, grabbed Jared Goff, Matthew Stafford, Baker Mayfield,
receiver at the Montgomery pick too.
Those guys,
you got 4.
I mean, those guys just to me made more sense for your team, especially because you could have punted quarterback. But other than that, I feel pretty good. I mean, you do grab Goff later on, but I don't know. I like your sleeper picks too. I mean, I don't love the 4 tight end build. I'm going to be completely honest with K. Dot, Isaiah Likely, Colby Parkinson. To me, I probably would have. I know your tight ends are weak and you didn't draft them until the 15th round, but I still would have squared that off at 3. I would have grabbed Auten, Isaiah Likely, and Parkinson or Gesicki and been done with it.
Yeah.
I just think it's too many roster spots to devote to that position. But
I'll quickly add to it as well. Specifically in the BBM format, do I love Rashee Rice, the player, the projection himself? Absolutely. Again, spoiler alert, I took him in the 4th round of the draft we just did. So do I think the 4th round is a very fine value for Rashee Rice? Yes. The problem that I have with doing it in BBM specifically is that you're also competing with teams that were able to get Rashee Rice once he was going in the 80, 85, 90 range. So you're losing a ton of value when those teams are getting him later in their drafts and you're having to take him at 44. So for me personally,
Kupp too at 2.8. Like we didn't have to take Kupp this early when we were drafting in May and June. He was consistently like a 3-4 turn pick at that point in time. So I mean, you lose a little bit of ADP value when you're drafting that way. It doesn't mean that the picks, like obviously,
absolutely
draft the best players. If Rashee Rice is the best player, and honestly, you can make the argument he's still undervalued at the 4.08 or whatever. But I think keeping that in mind, game theory wise, that's why I talked about Malik Washington as a scroll to F down pick because he hasn't been drafted very much. He hasn't. If he's even this year's Jaden Reed. He doesn't have to be this year's Puka Nacua, but if he finishes a top 35, 40 wide receiver in fantasy this year, and he was drafted in 18% of best ball mania teams, I'm going to feel really good about that. And especially knowing the offense that he plays for, I feel pretty good about it. So I would love to get to all of your guys' questions. Unfortunately, we are heading out to a arcade bar kind of thing that we're going to go to. Mason is streaming right now on his channel, and I believe he's wrapping up as well. So we are probably going to head out of here. I do see a lot of your guys' questions.
We are planning to do a couple drafts on stream tomorrow. Don't you worry. Again, we would have loved to get more content for you guys earlier this week, but unfortunately some technical issues, and we were unable to actually stream some drafts because I'm going to be honest, like in terms of all the videos we've recorded collectively, collabs with other creators, we've probably recorded, what, 20 videos, 25 videos for you guys?
Yeah, like if you guys aren't subscribed to Dynasty,
make sure you do that,
yeah,
by the way.
Subscribe to Domain Fantasy Football, subscribe to Mason. You're probably subscribed to Flock Fantasy already, but if you're not subscribed to him, subscribe to Fantasyland, Dynastyland guys as well. We have done a ton of content with them, and if you want to see more of us, we are going to be on a ton of their videos, giving takes. Like we basically sat down and just had this revolving door of, hey, let's give a dynasty buy to this channel. Let's give a must draft player to that channel. It's just been a ton of fun doing what we've been doing. Like I said, we would have loved to have the running back tier list rankings for you guys today. It was supposed to come out today, but we recorded it. Technical issues. It didn't flow really well. No. Like it just
the audio was basically Bush was coming out of your left ear. I was coming out of your right ear. Don't take that the wrong way, by the way. Yeah, it just is not FSC quality. Again, was it passable content? Could we have put it out there just to get it out there because you guys wanted to watch it? Would it probably have done pretty well in views because, again, it is a running back tier list video? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, you guys know us. We value our product more than anything. We're not going to put shit out to you guys if we don't fully believe in it. And watching that video, we didn't believe it was the best content we could give you guys. So we scrapped it. We're going to redo it the best way we can.
Yeah, and not to mention, like, I couldn't edit it very well either because I'm on a shitty laptop versus my PC at home. So Saturday morning, we're going to be home Friday night. I have my home league draft Friday night, so I'm going to be out of commission then. But Saturday morning, we are going to get on those running back and wide receiver tier lists. We're going to have risk ratings coming out soon. You guys really loved that video last year. Then we're going to be right into superlatives week. Danny's top 5 sleepers, my top 5 sleepers, top 5 breakouts, top 5 busts, all that good stuff. We do also have here one super chat, and then we will sign out. Rocky says, do you have a different strategy for doing redrafts compared to best ball? If so, what? I'm doing redrafts. Okay, so if you are doing redraft leagues only, Rocky, definitely check out our other videos, 1 to 4, 5 to 8, 9 to 12, depending on where you're picking. And then also depending on what platform you're playing on, ESPN, Yahoo, and sleeper strategy videos. And then I also did the massive #1 draft strategy video that you guys seem to really be loving. It's up to, I don't know, 160,000 views right now.
Absolutely crushing.
Really appreciate the support on that video. As always, you guys always crush it with the likes and all that stuff on that video. So definitely check out all the videos that I just said. And Rocky, the main strategy difference is that it is much more wide receiver heavy in best ball. So you do kind of have to capitulate a little bit, adjust to the room that you're drafting in. And also it's a 3 wide receiver, 1 flex. Your redraft league might not be the same. But of course, we do have you covered in those videos. And of course, if you want our rankings to give you even more coverage, Nice Effects here says, I'm a noob to this. Who are the great picks? We have all that stuff in our draft guide.
You said you're third in the draft. I'll tell you right now, we have a video right now at about 35,000 views. It is pick 1 to 4 strategy. It has you fully covered. The guys we like in that range, the structure, the potential strategies you can employ. Again, what we mean by strategies you can employ, we actually have on the channel as well. Hero running back strategy, double hero running back strategy, and 0 running back strategy. So whatever's most applicable for your league. Is it a deeper league? Is it full PPR, 3 wide receivers, 2 flex? Or is it more of a shallow league, half PPR, 2 running backs, 1 flex? All of that really matters in terms of what players to take. But ultimately, watching those videos, concocting your strategy for your specific league. And the other thing, I mentioned it in the trade secrets video or in the draft secrets video, but understanding your league behavior is going to be the #1 thing. If you know your league loves running backs, guess what? If Christian McCaffrey's there at the 3rd overall pick, obviously you're going to take him. But more so once you're at that 2-3 turn, can you get at least 1, if not 2, of like Devon Achane, Isaiah Pacheco, guys like that?
Yeah, and NYX Effects said here, what's the video called? It is called Picks 1 to 4 Draft Strategy. I believe the ultimate draft strategy picks 1 to 4. So if you are looking for that video, that is what it's called.
Also, Rob, we are in Austin, Texas.
We are in Austin, Texas right now. That is how we are drafting. Again, if you guys are new to Underdog, make sure to sign up over there using promo code FSE. These are the eligible states that you can draft in. If you guys obviously see your state there, you are eligible to play Underdog. You can use code FSE. You can get our draft guide.
Appreciate it, Cats, by the way.
Yes, you can get our draft guide for free. There is a new deposit bonus right now. You can claim up to $1,000. Sorry, 50% of your first deposit will be matched up to $1,000. That is a new deposit offer. And also, you get a new special pick'em in your lobby, and you get our draft guide for free. Also, we haven't plugged this enough. We are actually sending one of you guys to a game of your choosing. If you guys are Jaguars fans, if you're Dolphins fans, Texans fans, whatever, we're going to send you to go see your favorite team. By using our promo code on Underdog, using code FSE, you'll actually be entered into that giveaway. And if you've already used our code, let's say you used it like 2 or 3 years ago, you're already entered to win that. So anybody that uses our code is eligible for this, and we will buy you 2 tickets to go see your favorite team, up to $500 in value for those tickets. And we will announce that winner probably like on our week 1 live stream or something like that, because we're going to give everybody ample time to get entered on Underdog. So definitely check that out. Make sure to follow along for all the content that we have. And yes, Brian, we did enjoy the 105-degree heat here. We are Canadian. We're not built for this shit. It is way too goddamn hot in this state. If you guys live in the South, it is scorcher, man. I go to Mexico a lot, so I'm kind of used to it to some degree, but man,
different
Texas,
type of heat.
It is humid as hell here, and there's no water either, too, because at least in Mexico, I can just go to the beach and go swimming all the time. But yeah, this is brutal heat. But anyways, appreciate you guys for joining us. But with that being said, peace out. We'll talk to you soon. Hold on, I haven't entered this.